Hey, my beautiful mamas, welcome back to Some Podcast. I'm your host, Emma Rihanna. And in today's episode, we are going to dive in a little bit about my birthing process with my daughter. She was my first pregnancy. So, from feelings to finding out the whole shebang, we're going to talk about it today in this episode. And I'm hoping to get some conversation started so you guys can share your experience, whether it's your first, second, third. I'm going to go through my experiences for each one. Starting from the beginning, when I was younger, I had ovarian cysts and I had really bad like rupture episodes. So once I had went to the doctor to kind of figure out like, okay, is there any way to like stop this? Or like it's gonna happen probably once a year and you're gonna keep going through this. Okay, cool. And when I asked about what my pregnancy situation was gonna be like when I was ready to have kids, the doctor basically told me I would have difficulty getting pregnant or I would probably have miscarriages, which was kind of scary. But I always had in my life, okay, maybe I'm just not gonna get pregnant. I'm not gonna have kids. That's kind of the mindset I went into at that time. So fast forward to when I met my husband, we got pregnant in 2021. We got together in 2017, 2017, 18, and 2021. So yeah, about 4 or 5 years already we were together when we found out we were pregnant. So once that happened, I kind of was like in shock, honestly. I wasn't expecting to be pregnant at that time. I always talked about like after a while, once I realized like I did more research about the ovarian, like women do get pregnant with ovarian cysts. So that whole me not getting pregnant went out of my head. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was in shock. I was scared. I was definitely scared to tell my family. Okay. So at the time, I think I was 23. Hold on, am I now? 27? That was 3 years ago. Yeah, I was 24. Yeah. I was 20. I was 24. I think I was turning 24 that year. Yeah, I was 20. I was turning 24 that year, but I was still 23 when I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, I'm not even deep in my career yet. I was just starting to get into my beauty business. I was transferring from services because I'm a licensed cosmetologist to more of like e-commerce. Like I was making bonnets, like handmade bonnets. I was, try to find vendors for lashes, edge control. What else? I was just trying my best to transition from like doing services with, pre-COVID and then going into COVID. I just didn't want to have all these people around me. So, and when I found out I was pregnant, I definitely didn't want anybody around me, to be honest with you. I was still working my day job, working part time. I was like 39.99 hours. And I was like, okay, at this point, what are we going to do? Like, you know, it was just like so mind blowing. My husband was like, okay, like he decided he was going to go into trucking. He went to trucking school, he got his license. And then for me, I was like, I already have my cosmetology license. I just have to figure out how can I pivot and make money. So that way I could have at least two streams of income. All right. I Y'all, when I told my mom, I was crying. I was like, she's gonna be so disappointed. She's not gonna like. I was so scared, and my grandparents too. I cried before. I told them I cried while I was telling my mom, but she was happy. She did like, she definitely had a different reaction to what I thought, and that made me feel really good. Um, Let me see. Oh, and the symptoms. I have my notes, y'all, so that way I don't go off topic because the first video I recorded, I was way off topic. Okay, I was all over the place. So this is keeping me straight. For my daughter's pregnancy, I had just like breast tenderness, and that was it. Like I didn't have morning sickness. I had a little bit of not like nauseous moments, but I didn't throw up. I hated the smell of meat so bad. At this time, I had moved into my grandparents' house first. And then my husband was living with his brother in an apartment. So once the lease was up, we kind of decided like, okay, let's move in together because my goal was trying to save money to pay off my debts. And I was just like, at that point, it really didn't make no sense because I was at my boyfriend's apartment all the time. Okay. So it was just kind of like I was saving money, but at the same time, it was like I'm never at my grandparents' house. But once his lease ended, he came to my grandparents' house and we started looking for apartments together. And then I was like, we're in the transition of looking for apartments together. But at this time, prices went up on these apartments. And we knew we needed at least a 2 bedroom with all the crap that I had. And then trying to have like space for a little nursery because I have a vanity and like a whole makeup thing. Because again, like I'm a licensed cosmetologist, so I bought a lot of beauty stuff before I got pregnant. And we had a 2 bedroom apartment to accommodate that because I did hair out of my apartment. And now I was like, okay, it's either we're going to find a 2 bedroom with a little nook or we're going to have to fit my vanity and my beauty stuff, in the same room with a crib. And that's pretty much what we did. We just tried to find something that could fit our stuff, and we did that. Still didn't do hair or makeup. I wasn't promoting it because we'll get later on. We'll get into that later on in this video because yeah, post pregnancy was not what I was expecting. And it's so crazy because I got COVID in the beginning of my pregnancy because that's what I thought was the reason why I was so sick and so exhausted. But I'm trying to figure out because I had COVID like 2 to 3 times in that time frame. But the first time I had COVID and my boyfriend and I was quarantined, let me see, March. Oh yeah, when we was quarantined, that's when I got pregnant. Because we were both out of work, we both had COVID, and we was being grown. So yeah, now that I'm looking back, that's when I had COVID. So the thing about it is, I don't know if I got pregnant when I found out I had COVID or once I got once it got out of my system. Like I don't know when I got better. I don't. That's the only part I remember. And I try to document everything with my pregnancies, and because this is why I forget things. So forgive me if I don't remember. But yeah, so I found out that I was pregnant. I found out that I either had COVID, I was in the process of getting over COVID, or had just found out. And so those symptoms took a toll on me. Like I walked into the sliding door, I was lightheaded. It was just really bad. No taste. I had my smell, but no taste. It was just a horrible experience. And then again, with me living with my grandparents, excuse me, I'm glad my boyfriend was there to help out because my grandma had fell. I couldn't pick her up because I had some symptoms of weakness. Like my boyfriend at the time, he's my husband now. He's asymptomatic, however you say that. Like he don't get symptoms. So you would look at him and you wouldn't even know he had COVID. But he tested positive. So that was rough. And then once we got past that phase, and I was able to do like my doctor's appointments, and we did the gender test. I had one of my best friends plan it and reveal it and do it. I did it via Zoom because it was COVID. Like I didn't want to have big groups of people, not only around me but around each other. Like I didn't want to take the chance of getting anybody else sick. So I did via Zoom. So shout out to my besties for doing that. It was such a good gender reveal. It's definitely better than what I was expecting. So once my husband and I found out we were having a girl, I was so happy. If you have not seen that video, I will leave it in the description box below so you guys can watch that. Oh my gosh, like I can remember it for real. It was so nice. I will never forget that. I'm so appreciative, so grateful that they did that for me. And it was just nice. Even though I couldn't have, people around me, it was still nice to have somewhat of a gender reveal during those times. Like if you know, COVID was crazy. Um, so after that, y'all, me and my husband, we went shopping for our girl. As soon as we found out, the next day we went shopping because I think we did the gender reveal on a Saturday because we were off from work, and then that Sunday we went to the mall. Why did we buy everything that was in season? So this we had the gender reveal I think around, let me think, maybe March, April, around there. So like around the summertime, we bought all summer clothes for our winter baby. Okay? My baby was born in December. And I bought 0 to 3 everything. 0 to 6 because I had 0 to 3, then I had some 3 to 6. Don't get me wrong, like we live in Florida and Florida does have its warm days during the winter, but that particular winter, it was pretty cool. And I was like, I did not think this through. Y'all, we stayed in the house. Because I was like, what you gonna go with these clothes on? Okay. So last minute we had to go shopping for like long sleeve onesies, and that's all she was pretty much in was the onesies because we were at this point we were like, I can't believe it. So all those clothes we bought basically just stayed with tags on them. I ended up sending them over to my cousin in New York because I was like, her daughter was born in May the very next year. And I was like, yeah, I might as well just give them to you. um, and then after that, so okay, so once I found out the gender, I started to have some bleeding. And y'all, at the time I thought I was having a miscarriage because like I was stressed out at work. I'm still doing school online. And just I was tired all the time, but I wanted to keep busy. Like I wanted to stay on top of like my beauty business, working, school, everything. So I'm like, all right, like this is it. Like this is what the doctor was telling me. When I was asking her like how would my pregnancy be. So in my brain, I was having a miscarriage, and it's so crazy because like me and my other friend, like we were the only two working this day, and I was like, I don't want to leave her. Like I felt so bad because we were so busy that day, but I couldn't stop thinking about the bleeding. And I was feeling like I wasn't feeling pains, but it was just the bleeding. And I'm crying while I'm doing these transactions. And I was just told my manager, I was like, I need to go to the hospital because it's bothering me. I can't focus. I'm messing up on people's transactions. Like I was a teller at the time, and I just couldn't focus. So she had me go. I went straight to the hospital. My husband met me there. My mom met me there, and they did the ultrasound, and they were like, "You just everything is fine. Baby's healthy. Baby's moving." Like she was super good, and I was like, "Okay, so what's going on with the bleeding?" And they were like, "Oh, you have like a sac, like the uterus was separating from the sac was separating from my uterus. So there was like a little hole, like a little gap, and that was filling up with blood. And I think it's pronounced, let me see, I put it in my notes, hematoma. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, it's when the sac separates from the uterus and there's like slight bleeding, but it's very minimum. Like to me, I didn't know what a all I know is when you have miscarriage, you bleed. So I didn't know how much, how little, but you bleed a little bit because the blood has to come out of you from the separation. So I was like, oh my goodness, like that was such an eye opener for me. I was like, I gotta chill, I gotta relax because, like I said, I was doing work, doing school, doing the business. I was just stressed out, and then also the thought of becoming a mom, you know. So that part was the scariest part of my pregnancy. I'm not gonna lie. So then the next, I ended up finding an apartment. We ended up moving into the apartment when we first met. So we just went back to our old apartment basically. And that was super nice because, you know, we knew the layout, we knew everything would fit. This would fit the first time. At this point, I was doing a lot of research on the birthing, and I was like, okay, the hospital is gonna force me to do a C-section. Like I was under that impression, because at the time I was going to women's care, and then I ended up transitioning to Tampa General, Tampa General's women's health care. So there's a lot of confusion there. And then after that, I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna force me to do a C-section. I'm just gonna find a midwife and just do a home birth and just do a water birth. And my mind was stuck on that. Once I did my research, I saw how amazing it was. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Found my midwife, paid her money, and it was a go from there. Um, really nice experience. I was home for my appointments, and she came in, do her thing, check the heartbeat. She used her hands to see how the baby was positioned. She was really great. I was really happy with her. Um, and then after that, what do we do? Okay, so this is like baby shower time. So we're like halfway through, y'all. um, this baby, I had a job baby shower because again, this is COVID, so I kind of broke up. Like the baby showers are broken up into small groups. Um, I was on the verge of not having a baby shower at all, but I was like, man, this is my first child. Like, I just want to have at least one. You know, I already didn't have like a regular gender reveal. So the baby shower was a little bit more like, okay, if I break it up into small groups, it'll be better. So my job threw me a baby shower, which I was really appreciative of. And then I had a friend's baby shower at my apartment. And then my family had a um baby shower for me as well, me and my husband. So that was super nice. Everything turned out amazing. Um And then what else did we do? I think that was pretty much it. It was really basic. For the job, baby shower went to Cheesecake Factory, and then for like I said, my friend's baby shower, I just invited like my husband and I invited our close friends, and some couldn't make it, some made it, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was so nice. I can't believe how my apartment fit our friends so nicely, the amount of friends that we had, because I was nervous. I'll be right back. Let me go check on my beef. Y'all, my beef was burning. Mm-mm-mm. But don't got no food on. I had to do a little taste test. So I think from here I could kind of go through without having to look. I just want to make sure I don't get off topic or get too all over the place. Um, so once I had the baby shower, it was like in October, like around there, I want to say. Because, like I said, my daughter was born. I think I had the friends one in the ending of October, the family one in the beginning of November, and then I went into birth in December. So I will also fast. So after the baby shower, nothing else really happened. I was just chilling. I was in my nesting phase. I was washing all the baby clothes. I was setting up the nursery slash beauty room. It was like half half, but Babe was basically building up the swing. The bassinet is just like you snap it open, but he had that open. He put together put together the crib that my besties had got me, who threw me the gender reveal. So after all of that, oh, and he also built the drawer set that I had put on my registry, and my aunt had got it for me. So he built, like, literally was just building everything. I was washing everything, folding up the clothes, getting the hospital bag ready, baby girl's bag ready. And just in case, again, I want to keep in mind that I'm doing a water birth, but my midwife did advise me to have a hospital bag on the side. So I had all of that as well. Um, and so fast forwarding to now, December 9th, that's when I go into labor. My mucus plug came out, and My water didn't break. It's just a mucus plug. It came through. I was peeing, and then it was like a big old block, and I was like, "Oh Lord, what is that?" It was my mucus plug. So I carry on, carry on. I'm getting the contractions, doing my breathing exercises. That's one thing I could stress for my mamas who are about to give birth. Please, please, please practice your breathing techniques, because to me they helped a lot. Um, so doing the breathing during the contract. Oh, and your mindset too. Like, don't focus on the pain. I tended to focus on the health of the baby, or like, my daughter's coming, or I got this, or I just kept saying mind over matter, you know, or do the breathing exercise, scroll through my phone. I was just doing things to distract me from actually paying attention to the contractions. Um, so it goes on. At this point, I had my husband go pick up my grandparents so my grandma could come and bless the house. Just make, because people did live in the apartment before me, so I just want her to bless it, pray over it, everything. So now I'm like, all right, tell my husband, like, okay, you could bring them home now. Like, I want to I just wanted the birthing experience to be him and I. But then, as he's getting ready to take them home, my water breaks. I was like, oh, it's about to go down. And I basically was like, okay, I gotta call my mom, because I didn't want all of them to leave me and then I'm in the apartment by myself going. Like, I didn't know how fast birthing is, okay? I just thought I was gonna have the baby in like 10 minutes. That did not happen. But I was like, okay, I called my mom, like, hey mom, come up here at the house. Can you come get them right now? Like, I really need you to come get them. I'm trying to tell her that my water didn't break. But she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be there in like maybe an hour. Like, I don't know what she was doing, but she's like, okay, I can't come right now. And I was like, no, I need you to come right now. I'm just a little overwhelmed because my grandma was overwhelming me. She was like, oh my God, you gotta give birth. And they were not fond of the water birth at all. I don't really think I had much support from anybody in my family for the water birth. It was like foreign in a sense. So they were like, you need to go to the hospital. So with my grandma doing that and the fact that I had already paid my midwife, I was like, I need you to come pick them up now. My grandpa was chilling. He was watching TV. He was not, he wasn't really bothering me. But so she's like, all right, I'm on the way. So she gets there, she picks them up, and then she finds out that I'm in labor pretty much. Um, I call my midwife and I'm like, listen, I need you to come because I think I'm about to give birth. She's like, okay, just track your contractions. If it's this many contractions, this many minutes apart, this many times, and she's giving me the rundown. I forgot how it goes, okay? And I hang up. And I'm like, all right. I start I used the app where I was tracking the baby's birth, and I think at the time I was using the pregnancy something. I don't know, but it had a part where you can track the contractions. So that's what I was doing. I was like tracking. Every time I felt one, I would like time it and then end the timer. And then, so it wasn't what the criteria was for her to come to me. My husband was like, you better call her back and tell her to come right now. That's what you paid her for. I was like, I am so done. Like, now I can look back and laugh, but I was just like, but she said, to wait and da. He was like, call her back and tell her to come right now. Because it made sense, because he was like, we got to set the pool up. We don't know how far she lives. I really didn't know how far she lived. She was like, it was like around 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and traffic does get bad around that time. So he was just trying to lay out the law, like, we need her here now just in case the baby comes right now. And I was like, it's not gonna come right now because my contractions are not close together. But anyways, I call her back and I'm like, my husband would feel comfortable if you could just come right now. And because I was freaking out, I'm not gonna lie. Um, and she ends up coming. She puts cover the floor. She has her assistant with her, helping her set everything up, setting up her equipment, everything. And then we find out that the hose that we bought doesn't fit our sink. and then it didn't fit in our bathtub, so we had to manually fill it up like with pots of water. I will definitely also leave that video in the description box below just in case you guys want to watch that after you watch this episode. Um yeah, so it was just crazy. And like I said, after my mom came and she realized that I was in labor, she was like, do you want me to stay? And then she starts going into panic mode. I'm like, no, I just need y'all to just pack up and go home, and I'll make sure that my husband keeps you posted on everything that's going on, because I wanted it to be really stress free. I wanted it to be calm. I had it all set up. Like, I had a playlist on YouTube for pregnancy music. I had my Bible scriptures on the wall in my apartment. It just, I had the whole setup, where how I pictured it was how it was. And I just didn't want everybody there stressing me out and making me frantic. Um, so yeah, that's what happened. So I went through the water birth for probably, I don't know how many hours. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and see, but I think I ended up going to the hospital like around 2 or 3 in the morning. So I think she got to my house at like 8, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so 7 hours. I was at home in the water doing everything. Oh my god, it was so nice. Like, compared to having the contractions on my sofa, waiting for her to come versus in the water, it was like night and day. Like, the water just helped with the contractions. Again, once my grandparents and my mom left, like, the vibe was set. It was cool. It was relaxing. My music is playing. Everything was really good. Um, and then she checks me now for like I think it's the fourth or third time. She's like, my daughter pooped in the sack. She was like, I just want to make sure that you're on the safe side, and I'm gonna recommend that you go to the hospital from here. Y'all, I didn't cry. How you're seeing my expression right now, if you're watching through YouTube, I was so disappointed. I was like, there's no way. Anyways, again, my husband's like, all right, he's illogical. He's like, all right, let's pack up, grab the hospital bag, let's go. He didn't waste no time. He gave her, I think we ended up giving her one of our house apartment keys. That's how serious he was. He was like, just lock up behind you, turn the lights off and lock up behind you. So, they cleaned up for me. They did all my pads. So, I was expecting to have a vaginal birth. So they got me those oversized large pads, put the aloe vera gel on it, and place it in the freezer, so that when I came home from the hospital, they would be in the freezer for me. And, they were just amazing. I really, really, really loved that whole experience. So we get to the hospital, and literally we got to the hospital, I think, in like 15 minutes. They was not playing. He was speeding. Thank God we didn't get no tickets. Um, and we got checked in. They got me into the room. They checked to see if baby girl did poop in her sack. They said they didn't see anything, but they were just gonna put me in a room and monitor me, since I told them the type of birth I wanted to have was vaginal. So Tampa General didn't force me to, you know, excuse me, they didn't force me to go into a C-section. So I progressed. So from like 3 in the morning to 6 or maybe 5 a.m., they were like, okay. So from when I left my apartment, I was 4 centimeters. And when I got to the hospital, I was the same 4 centimeters. And then by the time like 5, 6 o'clock a.m. rolls around, I'm only 6 centimeters. They were like, okay, her heart rate is not, it's like it's not handling the contractions well. Like, every time I had a contraction, her heart rate would drop. And they turned it on, so I'm physically hearing it, because I know there's a lot of, like, these hospitals be quick that give mom C-sections, but I did appreciate the fact that they gave me the chance to at least go through the pregnancy naturally, because that's what I wanted. They didn't really force me to like get any medicine to make my contractions faster. They didn't give me any hassle. They just hooked me up to the speakers where they could hear the heart, where I can hear the heartbeat. And they're like, okay, just monitor. We're gonna monitor you, see how far along you get, and then we'll go from there. It was only 6 centimeters, but they were more concerned about the baby's heart rate. So then they recommended a C-section. I was like, what is going on today? This is unreal. So they still gave me the option to talk it over with my boyfriend. They were like, listen, you guys decide what you want to do, but just keep the baby in mind. Because they saw the hesitancy from me. You know, my husband's going to do his best for the both of us. And he was like, let's do the C-section because you've, you know, at this point, I think I was like 16 hours at this point. Um, yeah, it was time. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's do it. So, you know, they get me all spazzed up for the C-section. I get my epidural. It went really, this epidural, the first epidural was not bad at all. Yeah, that nurse knew what she was doing. I didn't even feel it. And then I had to sign all the consent forms that I did agree to a C-section. I was disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I was just happy that she would be coming soon. Once that happens, they take her out. My husband is seeing some of the stuff and he's seeing that she had came out, she wasn't crying. I mean, I didn't know. He's trying not to freak me out. He didn't say anything about like, oh, she's here, she's out, she's out. It was more of like, let me wait. That's what he said. He was like, I didn't want to tell you right away because I didn't want you to be under pressure. My pressure was rising a little bit during the C-section. Um, so once I guess she did end up taking in some of the poop, and it was just like I guess blocking her pathways. I don't know what happened. I didn't get too much detail, but initially when she came out, she wasn't crying. So he saw that. I didn't see that they had the drape up in front of me. So I couldn't see anything. I didn't know they took her out. I can't feel nothing. I'm numb, honey. Okay. Once that epidural worked, it worked. So that happened. And then I finally heard a little cry. And that's when I thought they took her out. So I'm hearing them say, okay, time, like they're telling the time of like when they took her out, but it's not clicking to me that she's out and that she should be crying. So once I hear her crying, that's when I'm like, okay, they took her out. Yeah. So fast forward to that, they take her out. They, sew me back up. And then they finally bring her to me. And I was just like, oh my goodness, she's so little. I couldn't tell like how big or fat or chunky. She just had her little head, with the hat and the blanket, the swaddle that they put her in. And they were like, yeah, they was like, she's 5 pounds, 5 ounces. I was like, dang, she's tiny. But she was 21 inches and she was full term. So we get back to our room. We didn't get to our room initially because they didn't have any right away, but they put us in like a waiting area with the little drapes. So I'm breastfeeding at this time. I'm getting her to latch. Just having this experience of like, wow, like I did this. Like we went through the loops, but we're here. So I was super, super happy. I was just couldn't stop looking at her and just being so happy. So once I went, let me go check my beef again. Oh, so I think we were in the little waiting area for about maybe an hour, hour and a half. Like I really couldn't tell because I was just so caught up in like being a mom. Hubby's calling everybody, calling our friends, our family, just anybody that we could have thought of to call and show like what she looks like and that she was here and that I was okay, she was okay, how everything went and turned out. So that was our little time for all of that. So time to me kind of flew by in that moment. Excuse me. So once we get to the room, my nurse is now telling me like, do skin to skin, just keep feeding her, just basically just continue doing what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, I think maybe 3 hours later, they're like, oh, her temperature is too low. like she's too cold. Um, now looking back, I was like, that was such BS because if I had done like more skin to skin and just asked for like warm blankets to just monitor, like, just to like let me give her the natural warmth. Anyways, they convinced me to bring her to the NICU, which again, being a first time mom, you just do whatever the professionals do. But it's just like sometimes you should get more than one opinion because the nurse, right after the one that came in and was like, her temperature is too low, blah, 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 was like, if you would have done skin to skin and we would have brought you more warm blankets, she wouldn't have to go there, because it's just the temperature. It's not like she was having seizures or like she was shivering. Like, it wasn't nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and she's literally 5 pounds, 5 ounces. Like, she's all skin and bones. So, yeah. Anyways, so that's what I mean. Like, if it's not, and she was so peaceful. Like, I would say, like, if she was showing a lot of discomfort, like if she was shivering, if it just like she was crying, if she just was having a hard time in her situation, then obviously do what the professional suggests. But just simple as her being cold, I just felt like I should have just did the skin to skin, asked for the warm blankets, and she would have been fine. Because once she got to NICU, then they're like, oh, she's not eating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm breastfeeding. Like, she was just eating when I was in the waiting room. She had no problem eating. So they were like, oh, we got to put the feeding tube up her nose and blah, blah. Do you want us to give her formula or breast milk? And I originally said breast milk because I know these breast milks have to be certified. They have to make sure that it's good breast milk. And my husband was like, we're not giving her someone else's breast milk. Just give her the formula. So, she ends up getting the formula. They were giving it to her through the feeding tube. Looking back, y'all, it's just like I'm so upset. And I was drugged up too. Like, my legs were still numb. I think they gave me oxycodone. Like, I was there, but it was just kind of like my rational common sense of a somewhat wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So that really sucked. And the NICU is like on the other side of the building. Okay. So that, when I tell you, looking back, it was so hard. It was so heartbreaking. It's just, yeah, yeah. And this is again, my first experience, our first experience. We were just, let's do what's best for her. And, one, I told him, I was like, go with them to the NICU and watch everything they're doing, because I'm a little paranoia, little one, okay? I overthink things. So I was like, please follow them and watch everything they're doing. Do not leave. Because he was trying to go walk our dog, which was home. And I want to say we did ask the midwife if she could take him out before she left. And she did do that, which I appreciate so much.